So before I get into the review of the CONCACAF Champions League semifinal first leg match between Club America versus Philadelphia Union, I just want to quickly say that I'm scrapping all my plans of doing the review of these games in the League Cup this year, and there's a couple of reasons why I decided to do that. Probably the biggest reason is that remember how I said before this year's edition of League Cup and the winner of it will get a spot in the CONCACAF Champions League next year? Yeah, that is completely false, and it turns out I think it's next year or the year after when they do have a League Cup that whoever wins the League Cup is going to get a CCL spot, which means that this tournament is now back to the stage of what it was when it was first introduced back in 2019, where it's just a meaningless kind of tournament, where it is clearly a glorified kind of tournament that they're trying to create to make more competition between Liga MX team and MLS team, and also it's kind of a cash cow kind of tournament too, where I'm kind of now glad that my team is not involved, or Minnesota United is not involved in it whatsoever, because there was a case where if the League Cup this year was expanded to 16 team, all the Loons would have been involved, because it would have been, I think, top 4 team from each of the conference would be moving on into the League Cup. Now, the second reason why I'm scrapping plans to review League Cup game is just it feels like the broadcast network are kind of had the same feeling of what I feel about the League Cup. It's just completely meaningless, and they don't even try to broadcast it and take it seriously. And an example of that is yesterday game between NYCFC versus Pumas, or should I say earlier today, because that game was delayed for about 3 hours and it didn't kick off until 11 p.m. Eastern time. And by the time the game was kicked off, I was thinking, well, let's watch this game finally after this long delay. No. Instead, ESPN Plus decided to not have the feed of that game, so I basically missed the first 10 minutes of the game, which was incredibly frustrating. But that was not it. Right around the 21st minute, when NYCFC looked like they were going to score the opening goal of the game, they decided to, they did score the opening goal of the game and then go to VAR to see whether or not if it was disallowed for offside or not. And before we even get the decision, the ESPN Plus feed decided to cut out and they can't find the feed again. So, yeah, not only the fact that I didn't know what was the VAR decision until maybe a couple of minutes after when I actually got on Twitter to see that indeed that goal was disallowed, but yeah, I mean, the game was basically stopped broadcasting for 10 minutes, and it just gets to a point where I just could not be bothered in terms of watching anymore, because if they're not going to take it seriously like this, and if they are not actually even going to be broadcasting the game correctly. And by the way, I even tried to go to other knockoff stream and even try to go to 2DN to see whether or not if they're having the same issue, and yeah, they even have the same issue, and their way is even worse. Like, they literally just show a bunch of people in the stands, and it's like, what's going on? Like, you're just showing people in the stands. We're not here to do some people watching. We're here to watch a game between NYCFC versus Pumas, and yeah, it was just an absolute shit show. Probably the worst ever game where I watch on ESPN and ESPN Plus. And again, just feels like the broadcast doesn't care about this tournament too. So if that's the case, why should I care about this tournament, and why should I kind of just have to waste my time in terms of talking about this tournament that it's just going to be completely meaningless, and that whoever wins that, all they win is just a trophy, and that's pretty much it, and maybe some bragging rights. But that being said, now let's actually get back to the tournament that actually really matter after my little rant about the League Cup. And that, of course, is the CONCACAF Champions League. And unfortunately, this year, it seems like no MLS team is gonna win the CONCACAF Champions League, because the Union, they've now find themselves down in a 2-0 hole. And although they're not completely out of it, because, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when people say that LAFC was pretty much done when they played against Leon and they were down 2-0 and they were able to come back. That's kind of my only belief that the Union can do what LAFC did a couple of years ago, which is in the second leg, they somehow will score 3 goals to be able to move on into the CONCACAF Champions League final. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem like it's likely. And at least in this game, it basically showed that, yeah, this was, in some way, I wasn't surprised about this result. Like, first of all, it was always going to be tough for not just the Union to go down to the Azteca and get a result against Club America down there, but especially with the way that the Union has really struggled. And this was kind of my biggest fear about the Union heading back into the tournament, where they are just kind of like not as good as they were back in May and June. And I know there's been this talk about how, you know, MLS teams should now get the advantage because now they're actually in mid-season form compared to when they play against Liga MX's opponent that is only in their second game of the season. But unfortunately, I don't think people remember that just because that could be an advantage doesn't mean it always work out that way, especially what happened when the team in mid-season form is not actually performing very well. And that just seems like it's the case with the Philadelphia Union, and it's unsurprising throughout this game. They just look like it was pretty one-sided, and in some way, I think the Union is very lucky. The fact that they only escaped this game down 2-0, and they still might have a glimmer of hope heading into that second leg to potentially complete a miraculous comeback, kind of complete an LAFC level of a comeback against a Liga MX team to move on into the CCL final. But second minute into the game, and you know, despite the fact that I said it was kind of one-sided, the Union actually had the best chance early in this game when Shabilko just puts it wide from close range. And, you know, this is kind of the frustrating thing about Kasper Shabilko, because there's times where you know that he can be a clinical finisher, and then there's time he does that, which is he just missing an easy sitter from a couple yards out. And when you are playing against Copa America and playing against one of the best teams in Liga MX, you cannot waste those opportunities. And I feel like when that opportunity was wasted for the Union, this was not going to end well for them, because after that, this is when Club America really took over the game, and lots of possession early for them early in this game. I believe at one point they show it was like 78-22 in favor of America. Oh, I actually wrote it here. Possession at the 20th minute mark was 78-22 in favor of America. So they completely dominated the first 20 minutes of the game. Blake in the 12th minute would absolutely rob Richard Sanchez, who had a free header there from close range, before Martinez hits one straight to Andre Blake. But it didn't take long before Club America finally capitalized by being the better team, as Richard Sanchez would score for Club America to give them a 1-0 lead. And, you know, in some way, they were kind of maybe a little bit fortunate with this goal, because this was a free kick that kind of hit the wall, but it took kind of a wicked deflection that completely flat-footed Andre Blake. But in many ways, they kind of deserved the lead, because you kind of knew with the pressure that Club America was putting on the Union, it was a matter of time before that pressure is going to be too much for the Union. And, you know, they find themselves down 1-0. As I mentioned, the possession was 78-22 in favor of America, and the Union is just getting pinned back in their own half. Like, they just cannot get out of their own half. A lot of that has to do with giving the ball away way too many times in their own half, and there's a couple of times where they actually gave the possession only in their own half, but probably in the worst area, and committing too many WTF kind of turnover that, fortunately for them, Club America didn't really quite punish them that much. Now, before we head to halftime, they did have one half chance when Elliott hits it wide from close range in coming from a corner, but we do have to halftime with Club America leading 1-0 against the Philadelphia Union. Now, in the second half, unsurprisingly, America has all the possession to start the second half. Glasnes did try his trademark long-range free kick goal, but this one went wide before Andre Blake had to deny Martinez from long range in the 66th minute. And then in the 75th minute, a penalty was given to America. Now, originally, this penalty was not given, but after the referee decided to go to VAR to check to see whether or not if it's a penalty. And honestly, you know, when I first look at it, I thought not Martinez, but Richard Sanchez, he feels like he kind of dived in the box. And knowing the fact that you're playing against a Liga MX's opponent, you know they're gonna went down on the ground as easy as it. Like, they might not even feel any contact whatsoever, but they're gonna go down on the ground very easily, because they want to make to basically draw up those penalty. And I thought this was just one of those cases where, once again, Richard Sanchez being clever in terms of going down the ground way too easily and try to earn his team a penalty. Now, originally the referee didn't buy it, but when he does go to VAR, and when I did actually see see a couple of footage of VAR, I will say that, yeah, it definitely looked like Martinez did caught Sanchez low. But, I mean, it was not a lot of contact, but he did trip him enough where I thought, yeah, you know, in MLS, I think maybe that is going to be called a penalty. But in the CONCACAF Champions League, that is a guaranteed penalty, because you know how CCL is, and especially with those controversial call where, you know, maybe something that could be a little bit lenient, you know it's definitely going to be called. So, unsurprisingly, the penalty was given to Club America, which Aguilera steps up to take the penalty, and he coolly slots that one away to give Club America a 2-0 lead. And really, as the time winds down, it just looked like Club America was the one that potentially could get that third goal to end this tie. But then, in the second minute of stoppage time, there was a huge shout for a penalty for Philly, but it was not given to them. And I believe it was Santos, the one that kind of went down on ground. And it seems like, I feel like he kind of went down on the ground a little bit too easily. And well, actually not just that, but it looked like maybe he had a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge with one of the Club America player, and he kind of just trying to went down on the ground, trying to draw a penalty, and maybe the referee will notice. But if there's one thing we know about the referee, and at least what we saw earlier, is the fact that, you know, he's not buying those kind of soft kind of penalty, and just guys diving in the box, and, you know, and no, also knowing the fact that this competition has always been notoriously against MLS team in terms of calls that sometimes are always not favored MLS team. It was not a big surprise that that penalty was not given, and in the end, Club America was able to win 2-0 in this game, and the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 8 that the Union has, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Union has, 4 shots off target compared to 3 that the Union has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that the Union has in this game. And again, you know, for the Union, I know this was a bad performance, and, you know, maybe their hope of potentially moving on into the next round is pretty much all done. But again, we've seen this before happen where you know, even though it's at 2-0, if the Union could put up a good performance at home and maybe be able to win 3-0 in the game, and again do something what LAFC did to Lyon a couple of years ago, there's a possibility that of course could be or there's a possibility that they could still move on into the next round. But, you know, if they kind of play like the same way that they did against Club America in this game, then yeah, that chances is probably going to be dim. And especially if Club America does score a goal in that second leg, yeah, that pretty much just kind of kills the tie, because, you know, the Union, not only they lost 2-0 in this game, but they did not get that crucial away goal. And, you know, if they did get a crucial away goal, they would have definitely been in a better position heading into the second leg. Like, even if they get one away goal, like if they can get one away goal and lose this one 2-1, it would be a massive kind of glimmer of hope compared to what it is right now, where it's not really that much of a glimmer of hope that they can move on into the final. But we shall see whether or not if that can, of course, be the case. And again, you know, the thing about the CONCACAF Champions League this year, as I mentioned before, since it's just so spread out throughout the year, the second leg does not happen until September. So, you know, we'll see whether or not the Union can get themselves back into a good form, and we'll see whether or not maybe they can get helped out with Club America potentially go through a bit of a slump, or maybe they have some injuries that happen during the time frame between now to the second leg that's going to be happening in September. So yeah, we shall see how the second leg is going to turn out. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.